we please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening, and thank you for tomorrow, for what is in front of us. And we pray that we don't get caught up in the fact that we're, at the end of the day, we're still just moving a 130-ton building. It's still just a building. It's bricks, cement, steel, and so forth. But it's the fact that we set out to do something. We worked hard to try to do it, and we had faith that it could be done. And now it's getting done. We thank you for being in this whole process, that you are a God of details. And that more important than moving a tower to you is just the way we will love on one another and treat one another tomorrow and every day thereafter. So all the people that come into this community tomorrow, let them see us as examples of you. Help us be welcoming, help us be compassionate, and help us portray this community to be what we want it to be in our hearts and minds, and that is a place that is welcoming to all, and that they will want to be here and they will want to come back. We give you all the thanks and praise and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Bob LAHEY.
Here.
Nathan CONKUN.
Present.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Stephen Frias.
Here.
All right. First, you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Any comments or questions? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Yes.
There was radio purchases in there, and I didn't know if that was additional radios that we purchased, or...
Yes, there was additional radios. Basically, as the county is moving to the new platform and making those changes, which are imminent. I mean, we're hoping by the end of September we're switched to the new platform. I think that's right. Is that about right?
There may be a little delay, but we don't know yet.
Basically, we're moving our entire operation to the 700 bandwidth, which that would be utilities, wastewater, fire, EMS, law enforcement. So in order to do that, we had to buy a few extra radios. Okay. So there was updating of our existing and purchasing some new to get to the number that we need to change.
All right. Thank you. I think I got ahead of myself, actually, so it was... But I will move to that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. We have a first. We have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Consent agenda approved as presented. Department reports. Obviously, the blatant obvious is the Tamar rail tower. I'm just glad we made it here. I can't thank Mr. Nathan CONKUN enough for the fact that we have a $42,000 quote from the moving company versus what we had originally. I can't thank the rest of the council enough for your support. I can't thank the community enough for their support. Guys, this is just remarkable that we're here this evening. And again, I don't want us to get lost in the fact that at the end of the day, we are still just moving the building, but it's the fact that it was an eyesore. We didn't have public restrooms over Artisan Crossing. We have a lot of rail enthusiasts actually come to town for meetings. They want to see it saved. We've already got potential for the roof to be donated and done. Yes, nice. You know, from a local roofer. Just those are just snippets of the kind of things that have come out of this whole process. That's just been a blessing beyond measure. So there is, if you go on Fox 59, there's an interview. I was interviewed this morning on Fox 59 on Indy. And so that's on there. It aired live this morning. I thought it was recorded. They were going to edit, and then I found out the last second it was live. So it's either now or never. And they did call me Chad Spencer at the beginning. So, but you know what? They got Union City right, and they got his position on the map right. So that's all that matters. So it's all good. So
correct them after tomorrow, after it all goes good.
Yeah.
If something happens, you cannot be.
Yeah, exactly. They may have got my name too right tomorrow. But yeah, there's so many entities that have been involved in this process, so I'm just thankful and grateful beyond measure. Department heads, nothing at the moment. Okay. Good afternoon or evening. Jan, council members, Bob, let's start with you.
Okay, I got ahead of myself on the question for Steve on the radios, but also on the area planning commission meeting last week, there was the housing development, the subdivision was unanimously approved. So that's a great thing.
Very much.
And then I had a question also on the concrete walks on the around the Legion. Has anybody heard an update on that?
You're talking out here?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, the Legion.
KBL was in town last week to do the tennis courts, and then they did another project that was ordered ahead of the sidewalk project today, and I believe that sometime mid-August they should be here to do the sidewalk and paving for around Military Tribute Park. Once that sidewalk is in, then I will go ahead and order the paver bricks to be inlaid around the statue and start finishing that project up. We kind of want to square everything up with the sidewalk, so we're kind of waiting on that to be put in, so we are measuring off of that instead of the building.
Okay. And then one last thing on the sidewalk, the little section at the library on Division Street was not done. Is there?
Well, yes, I can explain that. Well, not really explain it, but for some reason, NDOT never put a ADA accessible approach in there on that sidewalk. They did every other corner in town, and some of them more than once, except that one. So, Joe Davis, who did the sidewalk at the library, had to secure the same type matting, and it took him 4 or 5 days to locate that. He has located it, and he's actually framing it up tomorrow, so it should be poured by the end of the week.
Great. I think that's it.
All right. Nate?
Update on Oak Street. The builder has applied for permits and is going to be at the August 9th council meeting to express the plans and basically answer community questions and show house designs. And that's all I got. I'm excited for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tim?
I don't have anything really, but one thing I will add on the rail tower is that, some people may not have heard a lot of talk about this just except in the last year or so, but this goes back to many years ago when Mayor CONKUN first started really talking about it. I think, Monty, I don't know how far back that would go, but this has been a vision to do something with that tower that first started out leaving it in place and using it there, and then the railroad nixed that, and then finally progressing to this. So this has been a long process overall in terms of what's happened in the past. So it's really gratifying to see this come to fruition.
Yeah, it really is. Appreciate that. TITO?
Before I talk, I know there's people out here, there's 1, 2, 3 chairs available. If you all want to go ahead and
Come in and sit down.
Yeah.
come in and sit down.
Yeah.
He's just standing out there.
Welcome.
Come and sit down.
could have stood there.
Very good. So we were talking about the railroad tower. I received one question from the public that I didn't know how to answer. And that is, what is our plan for maintenance and cleaning the restroom and tourist center facilities?
It's part of the park department, or it's in our park, so it's part of our park. So the gentleman that cleaned the restrooms up there will also be cleaning this one. We're gonna set up the inside to where it can actually be hosed down. And I know that may sound awful, but so we can keep it clean, but it will be thoroughly cleaned once a week like Steve put a Windex on the windows and germ spray on the commode and so forth, so it's sanitary, but we want to keep it nice. Now, it's not going to look like Grand Hotel or Taj Mahal nice, but it's going to be better than park facilities that we currently have up there as well.
Okay. And will they be open all the time?
No, we're going to have timed locks on them,
Okay.
so that way we can keep them secure and, so.
Okay, very good.
Good questions.
Thank you. There is, some people need to, I think, remind people that there is a curfew for young people, 14 and under. Please correct me if I'm wrong. 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, they should be home, or you, parents, be with them
Yes.
if they're out on the street. So they can be accompanied by a responsible adult, or they can be at home, not out causing mischief, which there has been some. So just thought I would mention that.
And that 11 PM is set by the state, that's not even
Yeah,
our
that's-
community.
Thank you for clarifying.
Good point.
So it's not just an ordinance here.
Yeah.
It is the state. Let's see. I received a number of comments about ARP funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, and I wanted to just do a little overview real quick of some of the comments that have been coming in, and then underline just a couple of major issues. So someone said there's nothing in the plan to help people, especially the most needy or those most affected by the pandemic. One person summed up the comments very nicely by saying, this money, quote, this money should be used for Union City and CAPS, Indiana essential employees, its infrastructure, and its citizens. End of quote. So just three basic types of different comments that are coming in, recommendations on how we can use these funds. 720,000, right?
Well, 776, I think is the newest
Yeah.
figure.
So we just got
That's basically
380, because we're like half.
We get half of it, and then we'll get half of it. Perfect. So, so there's three types. So one is to support Union City employees. That is the emergency responders, police, and others who had to come into contact with people, and maybe extend this, some suggested, to essential local businesses that stayed open for the pandemic, so they can give their employees a retroactive bonus. We're talking like groceries and retail stores that remained open during the pandemic. Another one, a second point, is we should be investing in basic needs. So a lot of people underline basic needs. Lead pipes kept coming up, probably because I suggested it, but last time, but people tended to like that idea. So a lot of people repeated that one. Sewage and laterals, and I'm not sure if it's allowed. I'd have to look again at the language of the, what is it, the Treasury Department's language or whatever, if it's allowed, but drainage for households with leaky basements and stuff like that. And the third kind, that we should be funding mental health services for those most affected by the pandemic. I had underlined, and some people like that, the idea that the child advocacy group had identified some cases of child possible abuse, and that, you know, maybe those cases required some kind of special counseling. They liked that. Others said that there should be mental health services for healthcare workers, right? A lot of them had to see people very, very sick, and many deaths that they actually witnessed in that company of people. So they might, they definitely need some counseling. And others, you know, who may have gone through that kind of thing. So those are the three general types of ideas that people had. A couple major issues. The people I've spoken to, and this one's addressing the actual plan that we have. They're opposed to any more investment in the Artisan Park, the Artisan Crossing, before taking care of other priorities. We'd mentioned that there was $75,000 for the Artisan Park, and people some are opposed. I'm sure some supportive. I didn't hear any of that. I heard people, you know, opposed to that because they think there are other things that are, you know, priority things too. And they mentioned water, and the lead pipes, Harbor Park, sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Another major issue is that the building remodeling and the office, there's $350,000 for social distancing, building adjustments and compliance. And I think in the discussion, it was mentioned that we would be building an office for the assistant city manager in the Vision Center.
Vision Corner.
In the Vision Corner, I'm sorry, and I think people may have misunderstood. They thought that $350,000 for one office for one person. So just to underline that is wrong.
Yeah.
If you want to elaborate a little bit on what that 350 is?
Yeah, it's actually for the entire first floor fill out, because one of the visions, or one of the underlying premises of the entire ARP fund initiative is forward thinking. In fact, I highlighted it, talked about let's see here. Use of fiscal recovery funds is generally forward-looking, and that's under 2.7 of the ARP funds. And the idea is that they're trying to be preemptive in the sense that if we are not out of the pandemic, or God forbid, if we go into another pandemic down the road, we need to be better prepared. And so the funds, it specifically states how the funds are to be used. Social distancing is mentioned a lot in here and throughout these guidelines. And schools, public facilities, you name it. And one of the deals with that facility is to help with the social distancing both in there and at the school, because there's so many kids in the DECA or specifically the KISS program that there's not enough space for them. And so this would be one effort to help social distance. The other part of that main floor would be internet access and like an internet cafe, which is also mentioned in here. Broadband is mentioned in here as accessibility to broadband. So if it's an internet cafe available to the entire community, it could serve that need, from a broadband perspective. The last one is the spacing for our personnel. We have, for example, one of our clerks that's actually in a hall. Office is in a hallway, so to speak. It's supposed to be a storage area, and she's actually in a hallway because we're crammed in there like sardines, and we make the best of it. But we're also not socially distanced at all if push comes to shove. So and the 350, that's just the figure that's on there. That's not art etched in stone, obviously. We're not married to that, and you guys are going to have to prove anything before it would be dispersed. But that was like a starting point. So, but again, I think, it's important to note that that's more the entire first floor.
Okay.
Is what that's
The first floor of the vision corner?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Another major issue is that somebody rightly stated that there could be another wave of COVID. We're already seeing some areas of the country where there's huge increases in infection rates and hospitals at full capacity and beyond in areas that have low vaccination rates. And we might, the ARP funds allow us to do vaccine support things. I know that might be a little controversial, but I mean, I just feel like
I'd want to consult with Ascension.
Sure.
And to see what their thoughts would be, because I know there was and that's a great thing to raise, but I know there was a lot of trepidation, a lot of fear when word came out that the shots are going to be coming out, and are we going to have enough shots for everybody? Are we going to have enough clinics set up for everybody? And it turns out we were very adequately staffed across the area, and in turn, even to the point where they were not utilized enough in some cases. Right. I mean that is a possibility, but at the same time, I'd rather consult with Ascension to see what their assessment would be. Sure.
Also, there have been reports of a lot of kids getting infected with this new Delta variant. So I don't know. For me, that's something on the horizon that we got funds. Maybe we can pre-position them. Think about how do we prepare for another major outbreak. I mean, some places are literally considering another mask mandate, another lockdown. I mean, it's getting bad out there. I mean, in areas with low vaccination rates. So just saying, we got funds. Maybe we should pre-position some for that. So I started getting some film feedback from people, and I'm wondering if we could just decide to sit down together or have a group of people. I'm not sure how you want to do this to actually come up with a more meaty plan, because this one seems like a skeleton.
Yeah, that's what it meant to be. It was a starting point.
Yeah, it was
a starting point.
An approval point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I voted for it.
It was just a starting point. Yeah, because they had to have something, but we didn't even have all the details, nor have we had these discussions really.
So how would you like to proceed?
Well, if you guys have, because I know you guys, I'm sure, have garnered some thoughts, either amongst yourselves or amongst constituents, and citizens in your area. I would love to see you guys put stuff down on paper where you guys think the fund should be diverted. Because let's face it, nobody's going to agree 100% on these funds, on how they're spent. But I think we do have an opportunity to address a number of things if we're creative, and especially if we can try to leverage our dollars as much as possible. I know I don't have mine done because of what's across the street, and I've been gearing up toward that. That's taken all my time here the last 2 weeks, but my plan is going to be done before our next council meeting, which is August 9th. And I will have it submitted to you guys for your review, for you guys to scan.
The other thing I think everybody needs to understand, even in the community, they don't have to be spent.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got
Right.
2025, so
Yep.
there's no reason to rush any decision or
Yep,
any plan
exactly.
that is.
Absolutely.
And we only have half of it over anyway. The other half doesn't even come for another year. So yeah, we're under no rush. That's why we don't have a,
And the only reason we had to create the outline that we did was so that the funds could be issued.
yep, exactly.
So we're just kind of playing by the rules at this point.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
So do the other council members, do you all want to meet or do a little email back and forth, or how would you like to?
I was pretty satisfied with that. As of now, we still don't even know 100% of the rules. So I don't think we're writing checks out of that account yet, right? So I think what Mr. Mayor's saying is put down what we all want, exchange it via email, and have conversations the next council meeting. And
Okay.
I've got notes here, basically homework for myself to
Okay.
write my own plan. I don't know. Thoughts on that?
Well, I did, there is one, and that was for the radios that.
Oh, that makes sense.
That is the only one that will be written.
Yeah, that's essential for communication's sake.
Yeah,
And
that's for EMS.
Yep.
and all
Yeah.
that,
That's
so
absolutely
that's
covered.
Definitely falls under that, so, and we needed to do that.
Yep.
How much was it?
The total of the whole project was 162,000, but we took 80,000 out of it from the ARP funds.
Had we already voted to fund
Yes,
those?
we did.
So it doesn't affect our budget now that it came out of the ARP? Perfect.
And we plan to finance that, so.
That's even
So
better.
that means that we had already committed funds that will now be there that we've committed, just like any of the other things that, and this is one of the things about, there are several projects that we've already had in the works that this can apply to, and everybody needs to keep in mind, citizens and all, is that if we use this for projects that were gonna happen anyway, and things are already, then that money that was gonna be used for that now still is going to be available.
Right.
And that benefits the taxpayer, it benefits everybody.
Right.
So, and then the other thing I think everybody needs to keep in mind is that these funds are, once they're expended in 2 years, there's no replacement for them, so, ongoing expenses can, it's always a problem to create ongoing expenses, and create programs that need to be budgeted later, and then now you've kind of shot yourself in the foot, you dug yourself a hole.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I had. So by the way, I just wanted to mention that I have put on my councilman page, so Tito Farias, councilman, whatever, on Facebook, the rules. I've actually posted links to the rules, 3 different ones. The actual, what is that called? The preliminary guidance from the Treasury Department, a summary of that, and another summary of the summary. So three different documents with the plan that we have. It's up there, and so if people of the public want their, have ideas based on that, we'd be more than happy to consider.
Yeah, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of things to consider, as we've just demonstrated in this conversation. And it's one of those things that we need to not just think about the next couple months, but think about the next 2-3 years. So very good. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right. Monte?
Glad to see the Oak Street sidewalk and paving project finalized, so looks really good up there. They did
I think they did an
excellent job.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. We have turned into the Indiana Finance Authority for the SWIFT grant. We've turned in for one water project and then a stormwater project for our Harbor Park to try to drain that,
Excellent.
well, the north end of the park into this creek down there. So I did get a couple of calls back from IFA with some follow-up questions for it, so
That's encouraging.
I'm hoping that's positive news.
It means they at least looked at it.
Yeah. So, and we're also hoping, we've heard that they want to put these out as no match grants, so I'm hoping that also goes through.
Yeah.
So there'll be some things in the works on that.
Yeah, no, that's
That's
excellent.
about all I have.
That's excellent. Ryan? Ryan's? Oh, yeah, there he is.
I don't have anything
Okay.
today.
Moving on to old business, the 2021-09, which is the Backstay Alley vacation. This is on the second reading.
Did Steve have a report?
Yeah, I've already,
Oh.
yeah, he's already, yeah, sorry. Did you guys have any questions or sort of been approved on the first reading? If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion for approval on the second reading.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2021-09 Backstay Alley Vacation, second reading by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those, or Jan, actually, we should take a roll call vote.
Bob LAHEY,
Yes.
Nathan CONKUN,
Yes.
Tim HEUSS.
Yes.
TITO FARIAS.
Yes.
All right.
There was one clarification, I'm sorry, I wasn't at last meeting, but I did see in the meeting notes that the roadway / alleyway backing up to the old fire station is going to be resolved.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Reserved.
good question.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were
I
pretty
thought so, just wanted to make
concerned
sure.
about, making sure that was gonna happen.
The next, under new business, Juneteenth, and if I correctly gathered the consensus or the views of folks that stated things, that it's widely agreed that we should do something to recognize the day and honor the day, but not necessarily make it a paid holiday for city personnel. That's what has been conveyed to me in consistent fashion. What say you for?
I'll make one comment first, and that is that I'm as far from an HR person as it gets, so, but Brandon's comment about a floating holiday intrigued me. And I'd like to know
I did
more.
like that.
I'm really interested in that kind of thing. I think that's, might be a really good way to address a couple of things that we have with that, so.
Yeah, Kristen, could you check with her and Jan to see if she is, oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
Yes.
Okay. To see if floating holidays are a possibility, at least for consideration.
I'm sure we can do that if that's what we want to do. I don't think there's any stipulations about not being able to do them,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, because Brandon's sentiment was that it would enable people to choose the days they want to honor, because there might be other folks that want to honor, you know.
different one.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mike, so again, we're back to, is that additional to what we already have? And or are we going to maybe make what we already have, the ones that aren't floating, less? And then have some floating ones? For example, the day after Thanksgiving, or maybe the day after, or 2 days at New Year's, you know, maybe those two. So instead of, I forget how many we have, but like, okay, so say we have 10, so now we have 8 and 2 floating. Or are you proposing keep what we have, say it's 10, I don't know what it is, but, and then in addition to that, if that makes a difference as far as what it
Yeah,
costs to get
I
us.
understand what you're saying.
You guys all know my position on that.
As far as
I think I've made it black and white, but keep in mind Kirsten is saying that we recognize fewer holidays than any other community in East Central Indiana that she works with. So I think that's more why it was brought to your attention than anything else. So just keep that in mind.
As a department head, what's your thoughts on surveying employees as far as what their thoughts would be on that?
I think they would really like the idea of a floating holiday or two. From a department head standpoint, it would, in my mind, have to have some rules, and I would implement that at the operational level, not necessarily the administrative level, but I would just want to know, because if I have 5 people say they're taking Easter off because that's going to be their holiday that they're going to honor, that's going to be problematic for staffing reasons. So they would have to be able to identify a couple months in advance what days they were planning on using as their floating holiday for me.
And I think that's one of the things that you point out there is that your situation, Kobe's situation, is unique from the municipal departments in the fact that, like Easter, for example, Easter is on Sunday. That's not a concern for the street department or the wastewater department, but it's a concern for emergency services because you're 24/7. So that's why I say that it could be I'd be curious to see what employees would like to see, but at the same time, you're gonna have to set some rules on some of those days.
I think, I kind of like the whole floating holiday thing. I think that enables us to move into the next generation and you know, looking at, you know, different hires down there. I mean, I'm gonna have to hire 7 people for my operation out of 9 in the next 3 to 5 years. So looking at that, we don't know what we're going to get in the employment process. So, you know, maybe somebody takes an OK day, maybe somebody takes a Jewish holiday, maybe it's hard to tell. And I think that's very attractive from a marketing and a promotional point of view.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I've not put much thought around this, but what's the difference between like 2 floating holidays or 2 additional vacation days?
Don't get me started, because as far as I'm concerned, it's just all PTO.
Okay.
I can speak to one of that, at least from my company's perspective. We were always told, take your floating holidays immediately, because they don't have to pay those.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so take those immediately,
They don't have to pay those?
supposedly. Yeah, your 2 floating holidays, but your vacation day, your vacation time is due, but your floating holidays, that's the way, I'll reconfirm with our HR, but that's the way it was. That's the way my manager conveyed it to me.
Yeah.
Always take your floating holidays first.
That possibly is accurate, because you have to work the day before and the day after in order to get your paid holiday.
Yeah.
So if something were to happen that you weren't able to work the day before or the day after, then you're not going to get that holiday pay, where vacation days are earned by years of service, and those are paid out if somebody leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there is. But that's a good question. I'll confirm, see if that's still the case, but that was.
Thinking my day job hat too, I need to investigate that. And I'm saying, wait a second.
vacation would be a bigger liability for the city, because you have to pay that out. Vacation and personal days, you have to pay those out.
You
Okay.
can pay those out, so then, like
Holiday pay, you don't pay out.
Holiday can be
Sick
use it or
days, you
lose
don't
it.
pay out.
And just to be clear, floating holiday would be at the beginning of the year or towards the beginning of the year. Someone says, I want to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, or I want to celebrate, you know, some other.
For us, in emergency services, we would plug that into our web-based scheduling software. That this person's taking this day off, and then the shift would be filled. It would be posted to be filled.
Oh, I see.
So I mean, it doesn't matter to us when they take the day off. It would just be.
But what about other city employees?
Well, other city employees, they don't have to backfill that, so they can have any day off they want.
Yeah.
We have to backfill.
He has to
because I have
backfill,
to
whereas the other departments don't have that issue. They can street department can get along without one person for a day or for whatever, and they do vacations, they don't backfill vacations.
How many days short are we versus other communities?
On average, 2.
Yeah.
So what if we
Per person.
made this simple and said you get one floating holiday from January to June 30th, and then a second one from July 1st to December 31st.
That's up to you guys.
And you
Yeah.
use it in between those times, or you lose it.
You can totally do that.
I started the conversation with, you know, my position on it.
Yeah, he burned that in my mind quite a while back.
I agree.
I mean, that simplifies it, it kind of gets us caught up to what everybody else is doing. It gives some marketing, advertising to bring we're a unique community, fulfilling everybody's wants, needs, desires, and it gets us so we're competitive with what else is going on.
Do we have a consensus to have her put together language to burn before you guys to?
I guess when we have another individual here, I'm curious what the county's doing here.
We haven't discussed June 13th yet, but
Okay.
we do offer 13 days a year.
Okay, 13 days a year. And we're at 10?
10.
We have 9.
9. Okay.
We're not taking election day off, sorry.
County?
But the county,
City of
by all
Winchester does
fairness,
not.
they have days that nobody else gets off.
Yeah.
Like voting day.
Election day, yeah.
Election day.
Election
and all
day.
that.
Which is-
So those days, no other municipalities taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit.
They're
different
apples and
than
oranges
the
a little bit on
county.
that. Yeah, They're a different type of entity.
So as far as Juneteenth specifically, can we commit to having, I don't know, something, activity at the Artisan Crossing and maybe a little bit of decoration in town or something? Lots of suggestions, of course.
Yeah, I'm open to suggestion decoration. I don't know what we would do decoration-wise, but we can certainly, absolutely, positively recognize it on like our city website. I could do a proclamation.
What I would like to see is, I would like to see some people that would historically celebrate the holiday come forward
Yes.
and help
Yep.
with the planning. I'm happy to do all the legwork, I'm happy to do whatever needs to be done, spend whatever funds need to be spent, but I need people that understand and are taking a buy-in position with the holiday so that we know how to celebrate it correctly.
Yes, correctly. Yeah, because we're gonna, that's a great point. So we honor it in the right way.
I was thinking play some Motown on the speakers then.
Well,
Concert and-
yeah, just, well,
Yeah,
we're
concert.
respectful.
But I also think that we look at the when, you know, you can look farther in that when you look at, and not that we have people that have direct tie here, but when you talk about, when we had discussion about the Underground Railroad, you know,
Yes.
this whole thing is a culmination of a movement forward, a progress in our country, in our society
Yeah.
that had to be done. And it's just like, you know, it's the almost like the switch was flipped at that point to that now we're moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and the Underground Railroad, that in itself would probably be something good to
Which was a,
bring to light, to
Yeah.
what this area, how this area played a role, you know? Because obviously the home is still down there at Fountain City. Yeah, so, yeah, good stuff. All right, well, if you guys are in agreement, well, I'll have Jan, you okay with that, Jan, in terms of proposing
Yeah.
change on the next? Okay.
Yeah, we gotta, I'll talk to Kristen.
Okay, cool. The next one, I'm actually tabling the proposed ordinance to determine the height of fences, walls, and hedges until the next meeting because I do not have pictures that I wanted to show to demonstrate to folks. Like, he sent me some and I didn't get them downloadable for the screen for everybody to view. It's like he showed a couple alleys where the bushes were like 3 feet out into the alley and obstructing views, turning and stop signs and obstruct. And so that, what he took pictures of gives clarity to what we're talking about, not the average person saying, oh, now I gotta cut all my bushes down. That's not at all what we're talking about. And so I want these pictures to be seen by everybody and on KISS, so everybody's on the same page and they know what we're addressing. And if you are up here to address that, you can still address that next. I don't want you to think that I don't want to pop your balloon. So we are moving on to our next section, which is visitors wishing to address the board.
I did have a one comment if I may.
Yes.
I think if it's what you're describing with those pictures, I think the language could be much better.
Yes. I don't
Because the
disagree.
language that's in here is like really onerous, and I think you'll see some of that reflected.
Well, and again, keep in mind, and with respect to Monty too, Monty does a great job. These are talking points to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have anything in print at all,
It's the first thing to notice, there's no number on this.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So then we're just meandering, you know, if we don't have anything done on paper. So, yeah, he does a great job of getting stuff down paper. So
Yeah,
now we've got
and
it.
I'll, without dragging this out, I'll add a comment, like, for instance, when we say hedges, one of the things that has to be included in that ordinance are definitions. So there will be, and that's one of the things I think that's probably getting some of the public,
Too nebulous,
is the definitions will have to be clear as to what is being controlled.
Constitutes it,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
The fence language is pretty close to what the area planning fence regulation is. It just codifies it, but the hedges are probably the part that we have to
Needs more clarity.
get
Did
clarity
you
on.
send those pictures to the council?
I don't think I did.
Mm,
I was going, no,
I
no.
didn't see it.
Tim,
I haven't seen it.
And just as an explanation, I tried to stand on the property line of every photo I took. And when you look at every one of the pictures, there's probably
yeah,
50.
you can't see.
You'll completely understand what we're talking about. And again, it may not be an issue with two neighbors side by side right now, but one of those property owners change. And now we have 4 or 5 different locations in town right now. We have civil court actions taking place between neighbors. We have yelling and screaming. We have police involved. We have a multitude of things because of greenery. And that's, you know, we just need to address it. So when you look at the photos I've taken, knowing that I'm standing in the center, camera right out in front of me on the property line, and you see the growth both right and left in the photo, it's encroaching on other people's property.
Has anybody been stuck by a raspberry plant?
Well, sure.
Does that tickle or does that kind of hurt? I say that because I've got a fence row behind my property that used to be an alley. It's an abandoned alley, got the assisted living behind me. And I've got wild raspberries that will come up and shoot through the fence. And I feel sorry for All Brothers. They do the mowing back there. I have to keep those trimmed because I would not want to be on a rider and have it, you know, with a raspberry plant. And so I constantly have to keep my back fence row trimmed. And I've got bushes back there that are 5 to 6 feet high, but they're nicely trimmed and they're kept out of everybody's way. But if I didn't, it would be this issue. They would be completely into other people's property. It would infringe upon the guy trying to mow, and yeah, it'd be a mess. So
And also I took pictures of hedges that people have, and they're trimmed, they're neatly maintained, but we're not concerned about the overall height. It's just the right and left encroachment is where it gets out of hand.
right.
And that's what has to be addressed, more so than the height. Now, height that's growing into structures, that's growing into fences and are just completely unmanageable, that probably should also be addressed. But, you know, like there's 5 or 6 evergreens down there in that behind the duplex between Citizen State Bank and that kind of separate the backyard there. Those things are 15 or 16 feet in the air. I would never suggest that those have to come out or have to be trimmed because they're neatly manicured. But at the same time, if at some point in time one fell over in the neighbor's yard, if they became unruly, then they would have to be addressed.
So yeah, those just go up, they don't spread. Yeah.
So that being said, we will move on to visitors wishing to address the council and the board. If you would, please stand and state your name and address and the nature of your business.
My name's Teresa Smith. We own the house at 321 West Vine.
Okay.
And the reason I'm here, I've been hearing all kinds of things that they were gonna make everyone cut their bushes or trees in the front 4 feet and everything in the back 4 feet.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like that is so.
No, that's, and that again,
And what you're saying about the not being able to see when you pull up to alleyways and stuff.
that makes sense.
I understand, that makes sense. But we was told all the trees and I thought,
No.
all my trees down
Yeah, no.
No.
for an
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah, no, amen. So,
And like knowing your address, you know, there's not possible for you to obstruct any vision or view or anything like that where you're at,
Right,
basically.
but everybody's saying, oh, you're not cut them down.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I'm here, just to see what that ordinance was
That's-
going to be.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna, this, as we do this one's gonna get difficult to make sure we get right, really,
yeah.
as far as
Well, I-
addressing.
Absolutely right.
It's gonna be difficult. And we may have to modify even.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out.
Well, people must be very misunderstand
Well,
what you're trying to do, what you're saying.
Right, and part of that's on me. I'll take blame for that, because I should have the pictures ready to show up there before we're even presenting the language to discuss.
We had a hectic council meeting last.
Yeah.
We presented it to council for their review, not even really a conversation.
Mhm.
And it got to social media.
Mushroom.
It
Yeah,
was out of control.
so, yeah,
Like the bushes.
yeah. So,
Not that we're trying to bait anybody, but I'm just glad that people are paying attention.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Because, you know, we've had times, I've been here a while, and we've had some times where we've begged for input and we
Yes.
don't get it.
Right,
So,
yeah, this is one.
like I say, kind of, you know, not that I wanted to drag you all up here, but glad to have some people, you know, that people are paying attention, because
Yeah.
we need the input too, so.
Yeah, so thank you. Hopefully you're resting a little bit easier now knowing that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, my name is Shirley Gower,
Uh-huh,
and we live at 901 South Street, down by the building.
okay.
And I talked to Monty a while back ago about, we've lived there for 27 years. And the whole time we've lived there, our road's hardly ever been repaired. Okay, well, last year we had to repair a sewer, what was it?
Sewer line.
A sewer line going from the shrubs in front of the ball diamond that had caused all kinds of problems for us.
Right there, Fred.
Well, we had to repair all that. Well, then this street caved in on the guy that was working it. Well, they keep patching it, and it's still bad. I mean, it needs to be addressed. And I had said something to Monty about it here a while back ago. Well, the whole time we've lived there, we have come to an agreement that we think there needs to be a sidewalk ran down that road, because you have the ball diamond, you have all these kids on the road constantly. You have the trailer court that comes out, and these people walk down the middle of the road because there's no sidewalks.
Place to walk.
And since they've annexed us into the city, we bought the property and they had just annexed it into the city back in '94, I believe it was. Well, there needs to be a sidewalk if it's a city street there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have all these children and people fly down this road like, they think it's a racetrack. And, you know, that's kind of scary. So we've talked about it quite a few times, you know, hey, there needs to be something done here. So that's why I thought I would address it while we were here, because they had told us about the whole shrub thing, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, we don't want to tear down our trees, because we just planted trees in our yard, you know, the past few years. We don't want to tear these down, because we're trying to make it look good and not make it look bad.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, yes.
Awesome. So how long of a stretch are we talking to? Is that,
It's on the spring community crossings.
Is it
That
really?
will be redone, yeah, on the next community crossing.
I didn't see that. That includes sidewalk on there?
No.
Oh.
Does the street gets redone.
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't
Which
think
is
we
a
had.
problem.
Yes, and Monty did tell me.
Okay, so the street, yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't think we had sidewalk part of that project. The street's part of the project, but not the side. So that would be, now's our opportunity to try to put something in
It'd be,
place.
it'd be a separate
Yes.
project, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll attest to what they're saying, is that is an issue down there. I don't travel that a lot, but I do use it, and always have to really watch for pedestrians in that.
They're everywhere.
Where the sidewalks come to a stop, and it wouldn't have to be both sides by any means, but one
No.
side of
At least one
sidewalks
side.
would
Just
be.
the one
Yeah.
side, like in front of our house or
Yeah.
something.
Which side is
right there.
that? Is
They're on the
That would
south
be-
side.
South
Yes,
side?
And
yes.
Well, that makes sense too, because that's the ball diamond,
Yes,
so.
and that's heavily traveled, I mean, it's
I
heavily
think the
traveled.
south side would be
You
easier.
got Maple Leaf Apartments there as well as the Tribune.
Could we at least get a quote so to get us in the ballpark of what we're talking? And so that'd be a starting point for us, and then we'd need to chisel away from there. And see what, yes?
This is going to open up Pandora's box. And it probably should, but you're going to have the same conversation.
Oh, I know, Plum Street, I know. And we are still trying to address Plum Street, that was part of Stella.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Everybody
I've had a couple
knows.
conversations with Andy Stover, and we're trying to figure out a way to go about it too. We
Yeah.
just haven't found it
It
yet.
absolutely needs to be done between
Oh, I
Maple
know.
Leaf and the trailer
Yeah.
park for
Yeah.
sure. But just
Well,
not
again-
going to be opening up Pandora's box
I
because
know.
you pull the trigger and do it over there. They're gonna want it.
Where's my sidewalk?
Hold on a second, is this part of ARP funds? Can we just wrap it in here and?
Let's see, did we have baseball games during the pandemic?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Safety.
No.
It's infrastructure and
So,
safety.
it may,
Infrastructure's part of it. It does state infrastructure, right?
Yeah, sidewalks are not traditionally part of that, but we can check into it at least.
Yeah.
So it's
I
worth
think
venturing
creating
into.
a plan over a 10-year period of time to start putting some new sidewalks in is awesome. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
it can't all happen at the same time.
Right.
There's too many areas in town that we need to put sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right.
About the whole town.
Well, anything else?
No, I just wanted to address that,
No,
because
thank
that
you.
was like
Thank you.
really important, because like I said,
Absolutely.
the whole fact that the ball diamond
Yep.
is packed a lot in the summer.
That's a great point.
And, you know, there's so many children that travel that, and it's like, you know, unlike even adults come out of that trailer court and walk down the road, and it's like, there's nowhere for them to walk, and like I said, that road is like, been patched so much on that one side, it's like, how much more can it be to be patched?
I'm trying to
And
picture
Lonnie
that.
had told me that they were going, that was in plan, but
Didn't we chip and
didn't
seal
say
it?
anything about the sidewalks,
We
so
did
I
the
had
other
thrown
one.
that up to him too. So that's why I thought, well,
We're gonna do
while
that.
I'm here,
Now he's got-
about the whole shrub thing with them guys,
pretty bad.
now's my chance to tell you guys, yeah.
Well, thank you.
You know, and
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And when you talk about that, that's, I think phases would be workable with that, and particularly because the most critical is get from the Greenwood Park to the Ball Diamonds at least. You could incrementally do that, but get through a distance there and connect those maybe to Maple Leaf, and then once you get, then you can also connect, once you get to Maple Leaf, now you're back to where you've got access to the north-south streets, and,
Yeah, you
so a
can
little
connect
bit
right there.
into an area that has sidewalks, and you wouldn't have, because you don't necessarily have to take it all the way down to meet the other sidewalks on south in one. If you did a parcel of it at one time, it would be helpful. It's not like you could do
Right.
part of it and it wouldn't do any good till you did the whole thing.
and it's the
Be done
priority,
and-
it should be a priority because that's a high traffic area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That
But-
first section would be 600 feet of sidewalk,
Yeah.
just that.
So just that section.
Very good. Well, yeah, so if we can start getting some numbers,
Yeah.
so we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, because people come off of that highway and they just fly down that road like it's
I live
nothing.
on, trust me, I live down there on Columbia Street,
Yeah.
yeah. People think, they see the curve and they think that means Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Steve,
Um,
do you think it would be possible for the PD to put the sign that says you're going XYZ speed down there to kind of,
We've done those traffic studies on South Street because of the Ball Diamonds, but yeah, we can put it up.
just a little reminder, sometimes people forget.
We will.
We have one other gentleman
You can put
standing
it
here, did you
anywhere.
wanna, is there anything you wanted to cover?
No, I was
Okay.
just up here to observe the
Cool.
evidence.
No, it's cool. All right, the date of our next council meeting is Monday, August 9th at 6 PM. Board of Works is that same day at 1 PM. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
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 All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.
How goes it, Tyler?
One way of
Anything
reading that,
interesting happen these days?
on fences, is I would have to
There
cut
was
down
rumor
two
we were
sections
having a reunion.